Hey everybody, my name is Seth. That over there is Nick, and this here is Sunny. And today we're going to be talking to you about millennials and how we're about to end the workforce. So, who here is a millennial? You? Just a couple? Or qualified? Alright, we'll go over that in a second. Nick, I noticed that you're a millennial. How do you feel about our future?
We are screwed. The total student debt is $1.3 trillion. This is ahead of credit card debts, car payments, and only behind mortgage payments, and we all know how well that's going. The average salary that we're making entering the workforce is 16% below the nation average. This has trickling effects throughout the entire economy. We're not buying homes, so we're not buying furniture. We're not buying anything that builds those homes. So that is ultimately what's causing a lot of the recession. On top of this, the average young family wealth has dropped by a third since 2007. The younger you are, the less money you're making, and you're only piling on more debt on top of this.
Alright, well, thanks for that sunny forecast, Nick. So, as someone in the back asked, who are millennials? Well, we have that answer for you. Millennials are aged 18 between 18 and 34, excuse me. We are people born around the turn of the millennium. You can see where they came up with the name for that. We're also called Generation Y. That fits with the nomenclature. Before us was Gen X. After us is Gen Z. I cannot wait to see what they come up with in the generation after that. I know we're all on the edge of our seats. So, after that, you can see the estimates kind of vary a little bit, but we're between 74, 77 million strong. We're at about 23% of the American population. In a nice instance of numerical symmetry, about 23% of us also have our bachelor's degree. This makes us one of the most educated generations in American history. So, that's who millennials are. What do we want? We want jobs. It's not hard. Here's some statistics. As I said before, 23% of millennials have our bachelor's degree, making us the most educated generation, presumably the most qualified generation. And as Nick mentioned, we're clearly paying for that with over $1.3 trillion in student debt, and that number is just going to keep increasing over time. However, we aren't getting any return on our investment. As you can see on our slide, 50% of all unemployed Americans are millennials, and within the 18 to 34 age bracket, we have 10% unemployment compared to the national average of 5.5%. That's almost double. We're not in good shape. These numbers don't even begin to factor in things like underemployment. This is when somebody might have a bachelor's degree or similar accreditation, but they can't get a job that they're qualified for. Maybe they're working part-time, maybe they're working minimum wage. Since so many people are having trouble getting jobs that are equal to their qualification level, and more people are working for minimum wage, there's been a big push recently for a livable wage. As you can see on our chart on our slide, in Texas you have to get paid around $16 an hour for a livable wage. In California, that number jumps to $23 an hour. Now, there's a big belief that the majority of people who work for minimum wage are maybe high school students 16 to 18. That's actually a myth. Over 88% of people working for minimum wage are older than 20 years old, and half are older than 30. So we have a lot of people that have gotten maybe out of school, maybe with a high school diploma, but they are working minimum jobs because they can't get a job anywhere else. And they're trying to support their family, and they can't do it on the wage that we're currently paying. So that's why we're seeing a big movement there. So, Sonny, assuming millennials can actually get a job, how should management deal with us?
Well, thank you, Seth. There are several ways management can deal with millennials, us, when you're in the workforce. So one of the ways is place less emphasis on hierarchy. What I mean by that is we treat most of us as equals to ourselves, common others. We are more comfortable talking to management. We don't compare to the previous generations and talking to regular people, anybody above us. We're more comfortable talking to them. Another thing is we are more tech savvy. So obviously, it's the Facebook and social media and Twitter. We're the ones who teach everybody else how this technology is. So we are more tech savvy. Also, since we talked about management should also consider that we bring more technology ability to a firm. What's not there before, our experience, our expertise is always useful for a firm. Another thing is team oriented. So it's like, for instance, in this class, we're trained to work with people, to work to give presentations and work with throughout our career, our school career, and we are team oriented because of that. We are more comfortable working with each other and coming up with solutions to a problem. And volunteering, that's more of a millennial thing, at least for us.
Interesting. What are two other things they should keep in mind?
Well, thank you. Two other things management should consider is innovative ideas. The main point is, who has heard that you don't have enough experience to get a job? The main thing management should consider is they should not ignore talent for lack of experience. We are talented. talented, we are talented, but that's the main point. We are more innovative ideas. And the one last point is we are interested in more than just money. For instance, we are interested in more about the culture of the firm, where it's more people who work in the Southwest than somebody else, some other companies out there. And for instance, also the work-life balance. As an example, as many accounting firms are struggling to fill positions because nobody wants to work 80 hours a week anymore. We are more willing to work less hours than our previous generations. And with that, and also we also consider the impacts of the recession. So, 2008, a lot of millennials were coming out of college with a degree. As Seth and pointed out, 23% of us have a bachelor's degree. We're coming out of degree college, coming out of college, and that's the same time the recession hit, 2007, and basically everybody's out of a job. So basically our bachelor's degree is worthless. And because of that, millennials have moved into lower paying jobs, like Starbucks, even though with the degree we moved to Starbucks and all those lower paying jobs. And the new normal is because a lot of people's savings account has been wiped out because of the recession. And so a lot of baby boomers and older generation, they're still in the workforce. So that means that's extra bad for us because if they're in the workforce, we're out of the workforce. So basically that's the new normal. And it won't change for maybe one more decade. And one of the last points about millennials is because of all the things that we mentioned, the school, the debt, and the recessions, we are more people are living with parents because nobody can afford, or at least for now, to buy homes for themselves. More people are not because of they're not buying, so they can't have credit, so they're not buying cars or homes. And also people are more likely to wait on marriage and having kids. And with that, what solution?
Let's show of hands. Who in here are accounting majors? Who are accounting majors? Accounting majors. Good choice. You guys are significantly better off than art majors. So unfortunately, our generation doesn't have the benefit or the luxury of working for 30 or 40 years and then having the government ensure our retirement like some generations. So everyone should be relatively familiar with all the bullets up on this point. So ultimately, for us to be successful, we need to incorporate much more savvy financial tactics when dealing with our financial responsibility and our financial independence. Like I said, working for 30 years and then assuming you're going to have retirement is not an option for us. We're much more highly educated than our parents' generation, and we're going to have to put that to use if we're going to be financially successful. So first off, directly out of the gate is budgets. You're going to have to set a budget and know exactly where your income is going in and going out. So no one in this room wants to consider saving directly out of college. It's just not fun. You want to spend the money that you're making. You should finally make money. Unfortunately, the earlier you start, the better you are in the long run, and it only compounds. The biggest point here is frugal living. Everyone directly out of college, the biggest pitfall is jumping on the credit card bandwagon and living way beyond your means, or maybe something you're much more familiar with than your parents were able to provide. Ultimately, we need to live roughly at or below our standard of living, and we just need to get comfortable there until we get to the point where we're financially successful and financially independent, where we can live much more into a higher means than we're used to. So this ultimately goes into growing our own personal wealth. So this ultimately deals with compounding interest. So it's a small example. So compounding interest is essentially reinvesting the interest made on a principal back into the initial investment and letting it compound over time. This is long term. Again, so this goes into the earlier you start, the better it is in the long run. So we got Sam and Pam. Sam invests $15,000 at 25. Pam invests $15,000 at age 35. So there's a couple of caveats here. First off, who gets $15,000 when they're 25 years old? Not anybody. But the point is, so at age 50, at 5% roughly return, we're looking at $57,000 for Pam and only $33,000 for Pam, sorry, for Sam. So the difference here is $23,000 over the course of time, and that is only at 50. Stretching this into retirement 20 more years on top of that, it only gets larger. So ultimately, we need to be able to practice all these different financial tactics and stuff we've learned here and over the course of life to be able to maintain financial success over the course of time. Ultimately, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. So that's one way that you can kind of combat the way that this job market is going. We know but we're all fixing to graduate pretty soon, and while the economy is recovering, it's moving nowhere fast. So we're going to get out. It's going to be a difficult job market, but together, if we believe in ourselves, we're going to be able to do it. Does anybody have any questions? We want to do the quiz then?
Yep, sure. Let's go ahead and go to the quiz.
Thank you for that completely unprompted applause. So here's our quiz. These questions are a little broad, so have fun with them. Question 1, millennials are between blank and blank years old. Question 2, millennials are less likely to blank than older generations. We'll take a large range of answers there. Question number 3, millennials are blank likely to save for retirement or emergencies than older generations. And I think more or less likely. Question number 4, what are 3 things management should keep in mind when dealing with millennials? And question number 5, what are some